Welcome to Orient TV English News Summary. And we start off with the latest statistics by the local coordinating committees, who reported that more than 180 victims were murdered in Syria today by the Assad regime forces. Until this very moment, 57 of them are from Damascus and its suburbs. Meanwhile, the Assad regime forces publicly executed 10 young men in Kafr Sousse following a massacre yesterday, where the corpses of civilians were kidnapped, who were found in the district of Al-Tadamun and Barza. Also, the districts of Al-Qadam and Al-Asali were exposed to violent shelling since the early morning hours, while the regime forces randomly arrested no less than 70 individuals and assaulted them.
The Assad regime refuses to end the dreadful shelling and military operations targeting the afflicted districts of Damascus such as Al-Qadam, Nahr Aisha and Al-Asali districts. In the capital's outskirts, the Assad regime forces renewed the intensified shelling on Daraya, where more than 15 civilians were massacred, during which the electricity was disconnected in the area, and the Assad regime snipers filled the rooftops targeting anyone and anything that moves. Furthermore, the dreadful bombing persisted in the area of Al-Drij, Rankus and Al-Ma'damiyya, where no less than 7 individuals were brutally murdered in consecutive massacres, which resulted in the devastating death of dozens of victims.
Moving on to Damascus suburbs, where the heavy shelling continued on Admer and Jdidat Tartus, forcing residents to flee to safer areas, whereas the people of Daraya held a mass funeral for a number of victims who died today during the shelling that killed at least 15 and wounded dozens. While operations to pull out the dead bodies from under the rubble continued. Elsewhere, the shelling continued on the towns of Sabina, Babilla and Masraba with helicopter machine guns and mortars, which led to the destruction of many homes. And in Madamiyat al-Sham, activists have reported the death of 7 martyrs after a shell landed in the neighborhood, including a paramedic and a mother along with her 4 children. In Daraa, the regime bombing killed dozens today and wounded numerous others. The bombing also targeted the homes of civilians, which led to the destruction of dozens of them. And elsewhere, the cities of Ataman and Al-Lajat also suffered the pounding of the regime bombs, spreading fear among the residents, while the village of Al-Sha'ara witnessed heavy gun battles between the Free Syrian Army and the government forces after an attempt to storm the village. 7 were murdered today in Aleppo until this very moment, where artillery shelling from Minnig military airport rocked the city of Azaz during the early morning hours. In addition, the district of Al-Sukkari, Al-Zabadiyya, Al-Firdaus, Al-Bustan, Al-Qasr, Al-Sha'ar, Al-Sakhur and Bab were exposed to heavy artillery shelling along with intense gunfire from the regime military barriers. Also in the outskirts of the province, the regime's bombing was renewed on Anadan, Al-Atarib and Khan al-Asal, which included the falling of dozens of missiles targeting residential buildings. Moving on to Idlib, where the regime forces who are stationed in Wadi Daif and Hamidiyya continued pounding the towns of Kafr Nabil, Sarje and Kafr Zita, as well as several villages in Jabal al-Zawiya. Moreover, the towns and cities in Ma'arat al-Nu'man, Kelli and Ma'arat Masrin also suffered from the bombing of the ground and air missiles that killed and wounded many and caused extensive destruction of homes and property. In the meantime, the government troops stormed the city of Ariha from several directions with artillery and rocket shelling amid scarcity of medical staff and medicines. And they also arrested dozens of civilians and used them as human shields in clashes with the Free Army. With this, we end our news bulletin, or our news summary rather, from Orient TV. Please, for more updates of the Syrian revolution, visit our Facebook page. Thank you for watching.